The mat is quiet beneath your feet. You hear the slap of a takedown in the corner, the shuffle of bare feet adjusting for balance, the deep breath of someone bracing for the next round. Every grappler begins like this, unsure, clumsy, forgetting moves as fast as they're taught. But some learners rise faster. They remember longer. Their training sticks. The difference isn't talent. It isn't toughness. It's how they learn. That's why we turn to the book Make It Stick, The Science of Successful Learning by Peter Brown, Henry Roediger, and Mark McDaniel. These are not martial artists. They are researchers who spent decades uncovering how the human brain truly learns, remembers, and improves. And together we'll bring their discoveries onto the mats. By the end, you'll see why drilling a move until it feels smooth doesn't work, why forgetting is not failure but part of the process, and why the hardest practice is the practice that lasts. Before we go deeper, I want to know who's here. What belt are you, or how long have you been training? And where in the world are you watching from? Drop it below. It's always inspiring to see beginners, veterans, and everyone in between. Now let's take a breath, clear the noise, let's learn something new and get better together. You step onto the mat. The air is heavy with effort, the slap of a partner hitting the ground, the shuffle of feet adjusting, the faint smell of sweat mixed with focus. You bow in, you shake hands, and you begin. You want to improve, so you repeat the same move over and over until it feels smooth. But here's the hard truth. Smooth isn't learning. Psychologists call it the illusion of mastery. It feels sharp today, but tomorrow most of it slips away. Think about it. How many times have you left class feeling unstoppable? Every sweep, every pass felt perfect. But the next day when you try to recall the details, it's gone. That gap between what feels learned and what is actually learned is where most grapplers quit. Real learning happens in the struggle to recall. When you pause, when you reach in your mind for the detail you can't quite grab, when you even make mistakes, that's where memory locks in. This is called retrieval practice. Instead of repeating a move until it feels smooth, you stop. You test yourself. You ask, can I set the grips without watching? Can I find the angle without copying? Can I explain it to a partner without the coach showing me again? It feels harder. It feels slower. But science is clear. Retrieval is the single strongest way to make knowledge last. Imagine this scene. A white belt is shown a triangle choke. He drills it 10 times in a row. By the 10th, it looks slick. His legs snap up, the angle is right, the finish is clean. He feels ready. But the next day, a live roll begins. He grips, he moves, and the triangle vanishes from memory. He can't recall where to start. Now imagine a second student. He drills the triangle just 3 times, then his coach stops him. Okay, wait 5 minutes, work another move, now show me the triangle again. The student hesitates, struggles, forgets a detail, adjusts. The move looks clumsy. But the act of retrieving the memory strengthens it. A week later, that same student sees the opening in live rolling. His legs snap up, and this time, the triangle sticks. That is retrieval practice in action. It is harder in the short term. It is permanent in the long term. Think back on your own training. How often have you said, I just need to drill it more? How often have you left class thinking, I know it now, only to forget by the weekend? This is not your fault. It's how the human brain works. The illusion of mastery seduces everyone. But those who step into the struggle, who reach into memory even when it feels uncomfortable, those are the ones who keep the knowledge. So what does this mean for you on the mats? Next time your coach shows a move, don't just rep it 10 times in a row. Drill it a few times, stop, walk away, roll, then test yourself. Can I show the move without seeing it again? If you can't, perfect. That struggle is the first brick being set. Each brick built this way doesn't fade overnight. It stacks, one on another, until a wall rises that will still stand tomorrow, next month, next year. If this first part gave you something real, save it, share it with a training partner, and check the description for the books and resources. The sweat drips down your forehead as you fail a pass for the 10th time. Your grip slips, your partner frames, your weight shifts too far and you collapse back into guard. You sigh, shake your head, and reset. It feels like failure, but it isn't. Science has a name for this: desirable difficulties. Learning feels worse when it's working. The brain rewires itself under strain. On the mats, struggle feels endless. You drill, you try, you fail, but in the background the nervous system is adapting. It is building faster recall, deeper patterns, stronger connections. Think of it like a muscle. A muscle only grows when strained. Memory, skill, and reflex are no different. Picture two students. The first one only drills moves that feel comfortable. Every class he stays in his favourite guard. Rolling feels good, smooth, easy. The second student puts himself where he's weakest. He fights from bottom side control, he attempts passes he can't yet finish. He rolls with partners who crush him. Every round feels like drowning. Weeks later, who grows? Not the one who stayed safe, it's the one who failed forward. When you fail a pass 10 times in a row, your brain is mapping. It is noticing where weight shifts. It is encoding the small adjustments. And though it feels invisible, tomorrow your movement sharpens. You don't feel smarter in the moment, but the science is clear. The more you struggle to perform, the deeper the learning embeds. Think about Shark Tank rounds. One fresh partner after another. Your lungs burn, your arms feel like lead, your mind screams to quit. You get tapped over and over, but then weeks later at a tournament the storm comes. Your opponent pressures, scrambles, drives for position, and you find yourself calm because your body remembers drowning, because you trained inside the struggle. That's desirable difficulty. Even mistakes leave fingerprints. You attempt to sweep, you miss the angle, you lose position, you reset, your partner passes, you feel the sting, but the next time, the body recalls the mistake. The hip turns sharper, the grip latches tighter, and suddenly the sweep works. The mistake became memory, the failure became fuel. Here's the danger: most grapplers chase smoothness. They think, if I just drill until it feels easy, I'll own it. But smoothness in practice can be a trap. It creates confidence without retention. It builds performance that crumbles the moment conditions change. Instead, you need to embrace the ugly, messy drilling, failed attempts, rounds where nothing works. These are the moments when skill is welded into place. Science proves it. When learning feels easy, little is gained. When learning feels hard, the brain stretches, encodes, and adapts. Difficulty isn't a barrier to mastery, difficulty is the doorway. So the next time you fail a guard pass 10 times in a row, smile. That failure is data. It is your nervous system strengthening. It is the foundation of mastery. Remember this: smooth is satisfying, but struggle is what sticks. You grip your partner's collar and shoot for a triangle. The angle is good, the legs clamp, you finish. It feels clean, sharp, controlled, so you do it again and again and again. By the 5th time, it's automatic. But here's the trap. By drilling the same move on repeat, you're building performance that looks slick today, but fades tomorrow. Science calls this blocked practice. It gives the illusion of mastery. It feels smooth in the moment, but it doesn't last. The better path? Interleaving, mixing the work. Imagine 2 students. One spends the entire class drilling only triangles. The other drills a triangle, then switches to an armbar, then an omoplata, then back to a triangle. At the end of class, the first student looks sharper, the second one looks clumsy. But weeks later, in live rolls, who finds the submissions? Not the smooth one. It's the student who mixed the work, because his brain had to constantly adjust, retrieve, and adapt. That's the secret of interleaving. It feels harder, it feels slower, but it wires the skill deeper. When you only drill one move, your brain stops thinking. it runs on autopilot. But when you mix moves, you're forced to recall the steps fresh each time. That act of recall, the reach into memory, is what builds real retention. Think about guard passing. If you spend a whole class drilling just one pass, you get smooth. But the moment your opponent shifts grips or changes angles, you freeze. You've only trained one road. Now picture mixing: knee cut, toreando, over-under, back to knee cut. Each rep demands a different entry, a different angle, a different grip fight. You're not memorizing one road, you're learning the whole map. This shows up everywhere in training. If you only roll with lighter partners, you get good at speed, but struggle when someone heavier locks you down. If you only train escapes, you panic when you're finally on top. Mixing forces you to adapt. Mixing forces your brain to keep retrieving, adjusting, recalibrating. Think of a scramble: your partner shoots, you sprawl. They switch to a single leg. You fight grips, turn the corner, chase the back. No two exchanges are ever the same. That chaos is reality, and only mixing your training prepares you for it. It's the same outside the mats. A musician who practices only one song sounds good today, but falls apart when asked to play something new. The musician who mixes songs, scales, and rhythms may sound rougher in practice, but shines on stage. Learning that lasts always feels messy. So what does this mean for you? Don't chase smoothness, chase variety. Mix submissions, mix passes, mix training partners, mix positions until your brain has no choice but to adapt. At first you'll feel clumsy. At first you'll look worse than your teammates who drill one move 100 times. But weeks from now, when the role shifts into chaos, you'll be the one who stays sharp. Remember this: repetition makes you look good today. Mixing makes you last tomorrow. You sit on the edge of the mat, frustrated. Your coach showed a sweep last month, a clean, sharp movement that felt impossible to miss. But now, when you try it, the details are gone. The grips, the angle, the finish, all fuzzy. It feels like failure. But forgetting isn't failure. Forgetting is part of the process. Science calls this the spacing effect. When you let time pass, memory fades. And when you force yourself to retrieve it again, the act of recall strengthens the memory far more than constant drilling. In other words, forgetting makes remembering stronger. Think of it like lifting weights. You don't grow stronger by curling the dumbbell non-stop for an hour. You grow by stressing the muscle, then resting, then stressing again. The recovery is where the strength is built. Memory works the same way. Repetition without spacing feels strong today but fades tomorrow. Repetition with spacing feels weaker today but lasts for years. On the mats, this means rotating your focus. Instead of drilling a guard pass every day for 2 weeks straight, you touch it, leave it, then return days later. It feels clumsy when you come back, but the struggle to recall it makes it stick deeper. Picture a purple belt. 6 months ago, he practiced a knee-cut pass. Then he moved on, focusing on sweeps and submissions. One day, rolling with a tough guard player, the knee-cut resurfaces. Awkward at first, then sharper than ever. Why? Because his brain had to retrieve it after spacing. That retrieval deepened the skill. Even black belts use this. Some rotate focus. A month on takedowns, a month on guard passing, a month on back attacks. By the time they return to takedowns, the details feel dusty, but the act of retrieval cements them further. Over years, this cycle builds mastery. It feels counterintuitive. You think, if I don't practice this every day, I'll lose it. But the truth is the opposite. If you don't let yourself forget, you never force yourself to retrieve. And without retrieval, there is no lasting memory. So the next time you forget a sweep, don't see it as failure. See it as an opportunity. Every struggle to recall is like lifting a heavier weight for your mind, and each rep of recall makes the technique stronger. Here's the teaser. We haven't even reached the part that changed how I train forever. The exact shift that can sharpen your practice the very next time you step into the gym. That's coming up next. Your coach shows a sweep. He grips the sleeve, cuts the angle, and kicks the leg out, cutting across like a blade. You nod, you drill it, you repeat. But the next week, when the position appears in live rolling, the details vanish. Where does the grip go? Which leg drives? It's gone. Now imagine this. Instead of saying scissor sweep, your coach calls it cutting the tree. Suddenly the motion has an image. You see the trunk. You feel the chop. The body remembers. Science shows that stories, images, and emotions make memory stick. Data by itself fades, but data wrapped in meaning stays. This is why we remember movies, not lectures. We recall songs, not lists. We carry stories for decades, while facts alone slip away. On the mats, the same rule applies. A technique with no hook is easy to forget, but when a move carries an image or a name, it anchors itself. Picture a guard pass called the bulldozer. The moment you hear it, you see the pressure, you feel the weight rolling forward. It sticks. Or a choke called the ladder. You imagine climbing hand over hand. Now the sequence is no longer random, it's a climb. Competitors use this all the time. Before a match, they visualize their sequences as stories. They don't just think grip, pull, pass. They imagine setting traps, flowing through paths, chaining attacks like chapters in a book. When the match begins, their body is following a story already rehearsed. Think back to your own training. Have you ever remembered a move only because of the nickname someone gave it? The baseball bat choke, the kiss of the dragon, the bow and arrow. These names paint images, and images carve memory deeper than instructions alone. It's not just about names, it's about connection. When you connect a new technique to one you already know, the memory strengthens. A sweep linked to a pass linked to a submission. Each connection is another anchor. Science calls this elaboration. The more connections you tie to a memory, the more pathways lead back to it. It's like building multiple roads to the same destination. When one road is blocked, another gets you there. Here's how you can use this. When learning a move, don't just copy the steps. Ask, what does this remind me of? What image can I attach to it? How does it connect to the techniques I already know? Give it a name, build it into a story, and suddenly it doesn't fade. One last scene. A competitor visualizes their final match before stepping onto the mat. They see themselves grip, pass, advance, finish, all as a sequence of images. By the time they bow in, their body already knows the story. And when the chaos of the match unfolds, the story anchors them. Remember this, moves alone are fragile. Moves turned into stories are unshakable. The room is almost empty. The mats are slick with sweat. Most students have left, but in the corner, one grappler stays. He kneels with a notebook, jotting down what worked, what failed, what confused him. He is not the fastest. He is not the strongest. But years from now, he will be the one still here, because he plays the long game. Science is clear. The deepest learning happens when you reflect, when you test yourself, and when you teach others. Each one locks in the memory. Each one pushes the skill beyond the surface. Think of reflection. After training, you replay the session in your head. What grip slipped? What angle felt sharp? By reviewing, you strengthen the neural pathways, just like rolling them again in your mind. Think of testing. When you close the book, when you step away from the video, when you force yourself to recall the move without notes, that struggle wires it in deeper. And think of teaching. When you show a beginner the move you just learned, every detail has to be clear. Your brain sharpens it for them, and in doing so, sharpens it for you. On the mats, this cycle builds a grappler who lasts, a white belt who journals after every class, a blue belt who explains techniques to new students, a purple belt who drills from memory before asking the coach to re-show. These habits look small, but together they form the long game of learning. Now picture the black belt, 15 years on the mats. His body bears the marks, scar tissue on the elbows, cauliflower ears, fingers twisted from grips, but his mind is sharper than ever. Why? Because he never stopped reflecting, testing, and teaching. He stayed when others quit. He learned how to learn. The truth is harsh. Most people who start will leave. Injuries, frustration, ego, life. The mat empties with time. But the ones who remain are not the ones who learned fastest. They are the ones who learned best. The ones who built memory through retrieval. The ones who embraced struggle. The ones who mixed their training. The ones who let themselves forget and then remembered stronger. The ones who turned moves into stories. The ones who reflected, tested, and taught. This is the path of learning that sticks. So when the gym empties and you're still here, know this. You are carrying something most people will never understand. Not just the techniques, but the ability to learn for life. The long game isn't flashy. It's quiet, steady, unshakable. And it's what keeps you on the mats when others fade away. The lights are dim. The mats are empty now, silent, except for the faint hum of the fans. You sit with your back against the wall, sweat cooling on your skin, the echo of rounds still alive in your body. This is where learning settles in, not in the drill, not in the roll, but in the quiet after. Think of what you've carried through this journey. You learned that drilling a move until it feels smooth doesn't make it last. Only retrieval, the act of recalling it when it feels hard, sets the first brick. You learned that struggle isn't failure, that the rounds where you fail 10 times in a row are the rounds that rewire you the deepest. You learned that mixing, guard passes, submissions, positions, partners, creates the flexibility that survives in chaos. You learned that forgetting is not the enemy, that letting time pass and forcing yourself to recall makes memory indestructible. You learned that stories, names and images turn fragile techniques into anchors you can't lose. And you learned that reflection, testing and teaching form the long game that separates those who quit from those who remain. All of it points to one truth. The art is not just about fighting, it is about learning how to learn. Think about life outside the mats. Everywhere you go, you will face the same illusions. The illusion that feeling smooth equals real progress. The illusion that avoiding struggle will keep you safe. The illusion that forgetting means you failed. But now you know better. Struggle is the path, forgetting is the path. Messy practice, mixed practice, uncomfortable practice. That is the path. On the mats, in your studies, in your work, even in your relationships. So when frustration rises, when a move won't stick, when your body feels heavy and your mind foggy, remember this moment. Remember that these are not signs of weakness. They are signs of learning. Every pause to recall is a rep. Every mistake is a marker. Every failure is a step forward. Years from now, when you're the one still standing on the mats, looking at the next generation of beginners walking through the door, you'll know why you lasted. It wasn't talent, it wasn't toughness, it was learning. Because in the end, the best skill you will ever develop is the ability to learn, and to keep learning, for life. So take a breath, clear the noise. The mats will always be here. And every time you step on them, you build something that will never fade. This is the reflection. This is the long game, and this is how you make it stick. If you're still here, you're already different. That means you'll last longer too. If this gave you something real, tell me in the comments what video I should make next. Save it, share it with a training partner, and check the description for the books and resources. And YouTube thinks you'll like the next video. It's right here on the screen. I'll see you there.